So straight up, I am usually behind the camera, not in front of it. So this is very new to me to be speaking like this. So I apologize if I stutter or go on or ramble or whatever. So that's just my disclaimer right there. But first and foremost, thank you to the Creative Week. What a wonderful event that they're putting on. And the other speakers, I mean, really tough act to follow. So anyway, my whole jam is, yeah, I'm a filmmaker. I live in LA, and that's pretty much my deal. You know, I was trying to think if I had like a title for this speech, what would it be? And I would probably call it Slow Burn, because you know, you always see like these lists, like 25 under 25, or like these guys straight out of college, and you just hate them so much because you're like, how on earth, you know? But because I can honestly say, at the age of 33, I am now officially doing what I wish I was doing at 23, which is I am, for the first time in my life in the past 2 years, a filmmaker that doesn't have to work a day job. So I'm actually paying my bills doing filmmaking. So while I say I'm successful, like certainly I have no illusion that I am Steven Spielberg or anyone of that nature, but I am very proud to say that as of recent, I am able to do this. Oh, thank you. Wow. All right. So now I'm really nervous. So I'm basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to curate about 4 different pieces of work that I've done over the course of 10 years. I'm going to show you kind of how I went from point A to point B to point C to point D. And over the course of that time, there have basically been, outside of the personal journey, yeah, I grew up in Minnesota. I went to NYU Film with a brief stint at Drake University with opera. So that's kind of my whole thing, and that was in Des Moines, Iowa, by the way. So there's the salt of the earth. So there have been basically, I kind of wanted to see if maybe, you know, take out sort of the, you'll see the personal journey, and I think the work sort of reflects the kind of storytelling I like to tell and the stories I gravitate towards. Not the first piece I'm going to show you, but essentially the next 3 pieces. And beyond that, the 2 elements that I feel have really contributed to my success, to where I've gotten today to even stand in front of you guys, are 2 aspects of basically the filmmaking world, which is the DIY culture of filmmaking, which, to explain, coming out of film school in 2002, filmmaking was very much a rich man's game. I mean, you had to have a ton of money. If you really wanted to create powerful cinematic images, you had to have the ability to rent a great camera, primarily film. You had to be able to process that film. And that was just a very, very expensive aspect. And digital filmmaking hadn't really caught up to that. So it was really, for me in 2008, when I bought my first $1,000 Canon T2i, essentially I was able to, for the first time, blow that into the sunlight and go out there and find, you know, various subjects and just shoot them and create the real, more powerful cinematic images that I'd always wanted to do, but previous hadn't been able to afford. So that was the first aspect. The second has really been, and so what I'm about to show you is kind of my journey in the commercial space, which is how I do pay my bills these days. Of course, I do have every intention of being Steven Spielberg and being a big feature film director one day. But in the meantime, I'm just basically going to show you, you know, the commercial side of it. So, and in the commercial side, where I've really been able to find success is in the branded content space. As we all know, branded content comes in many shapes and forms. Essentially, it's commercials on the internet. And while it's, you know, sometimes comes in the shape of documentary, sometimes it's a funny or die video, at the end of the day, it's usually there to either sell you something or create brand awareness, or both. So it's basically through that, yeah, like I said, I was able to, you know, basically get to where I am today. So I'm going to show you my first piece, my first foray into the commercial world, which I did in 2005, which also lends the subject of finding your voice. And you could probably argue that this piece was not the voice to which I found to be my most successful. It's a side of me for sure, but it's definitely not in the space that I've landed. So, and then we'll go from there, and I'll explain. I'll sort of, after each video, I'll sort of explain the genesis of it and where it led me to the next piece. So.
Let me holler at you for a minute. The other day I'm in here balling, right? One, baby, one. One, clear it out. Yo, this kid walks up, he's like, yo, I'm the king of beers. I'm like, you obviously ain't heard who I am. I'm the king of the streets, baby. What you got? What you got? Oh, you gonna give me this? Oh, you gonna give me this? Oh, you thought you had me, son. So he's all like, yo, raise up, fool, because I got the smoothest taste. Yo, the only thing smooth on these here courts is my mad skills, son. This way, this way. No, we going this way, baby. Woo. Woo-hoo. Oh, that's right, baby. Hi-yo, Silver, this game is gold, baby. Yo, this game is gold. Where you at, huh? What you want, son? Yo, keep walking. Ain't nothing to worry about. We just playing some horse. Yo, where you going, baby? I didn't mean that about your mom. Yo, best 2 out of 3.
No. So that was seen by dozens, okay? This piece, I spent about $6,500 of my own money. And when I was 25, I was working at the time for Jason Reitman on the set of Thank You for Smoking. And I pulled a ton of favors even to shoot this, and this was on film. And I sent this was a spec commercial, essentially, that I sent out thinking I was gonna change the game. I was like, this is gonna be funny. Nobody in their right mind is gonna think, oh, he brought a horse in to do a Budweiser spec and everything. So I sent it out to every production company under the earth. No one responded. No one responded. Nobody cared. And actually, I had a conversation with Jason Reitman, who prior to Thank You for Smoking had been doing a bunch of commercials. And he's like, listen, Phil, it's good. It's not great. It's clever, but it's not clever enough. You're not out there changing the game enough. And so that was a really huge disappointment for me because I was broke. I put this all on my credit card. There was no way. You know, I was just like, screw it, I'm not gonna be doing this commercial thing. And so my next foray, basically after that disappointment became, you know, obviously I still had that urge and that desire to create something. And so through that, I was basically like, I'm gonna find any crappy camera I can. And mind you, this again was still in the film days. This is before 5D or any of that stuff. Excuse me. And so we, basically, then I was working with some artist friends of mine, and that's basically what led to the next 5 years of my life, working nights and weekends, various assistant jobs. I worked in market research for a stint, basically doing whatever I could to basically moonlight as a filmmaker, and that is this piece here. I was told to squat down so people can see, so. Or just walk back there, but.
If it was my...
Nope, we gotta go back. One too many. Can I go back? Okay, let's go forward. There it is.
There's a lot of talk about the world historic role that the great generation had. Then there's the 60s generation, which had a purpose. And yet the current generation is caught up in a crisis like no other. They're told that they're a me generation with no purpose, no world historical role.
The vast and complicated issues facing today's generation can leave many with the uncertainty that nothing can be done.
The current generation of kids are literally saturated with media.
If you grow up in an electronic environment, then you may have a kind of an empathy deficit of some kind.
People really don't understand what TV is for. It's to sell you things. That's what it's for. You'll be lucky if you get some entertainment out of it.
Who's to blame here?
Education.
The media.
The parents.
We do our best to affect the youth culture.
I mean, from a business point of view, the ideal social unit is you and the television set.
We aren't as active as the generations of the 60s and 70s. A big part of that is because we haven't gone outside.
I don't buy into this idea that we're okay. I don't think we're okay.
If you don't have history, then you're stuck with the word of authorities.
In this information age of ours, we have to find a new kind of movement.
In order for a revolution to happen, it has to change on every level.
It's a time to regenerate.
Don't let anybody call you immature or naive because you talk about attaining justice.
There are so many people who morally disagree with what's going on.
We can't talk about addressing the corruption in people and the world if we ain't addressing the corruption in ourselves.
There are so many life and death issues right now. How are you weighing in?
If we want to leave anything to future generations, it needs to be the fact that we tried.
It's the history of ordinary people fighting back to win progressive change.
What is left of today's generation to deal with today's issues? Will we even try?
All right, so that was, again, after having made that film and hooked up with various contacts over the course of 5 years, it finally, yes, it got, narrated by Ryan Gosling, who is a dreamboat, and was able to basically, it basically helped me get out there, but nobody got paid on that. But that was for me where I was able to take a 5D and actually go out there and just do it myself. And obviously the post-production aspect of it, once it did get some steam and people thought, hey, this could actually be a good film. So the only person that ever actually got paid on that was the distributor. And we were very fortunate to get it out there to 13 cities. And it was a huge success for me as a filmmaker, because even though I didn't make any money, in the business world, it was a huge loss leader for me, because it got me represented by a film production company, and then essentially got me my next gig, which actually was a huge game changer for me in the branded content space in terms of really getting out there, winning awards and everything else. So, and I think also, even if you can see from like Budweiser to Regeneration, it's a pretty vastly different style. And so I was starting to find my voice as a filmmaker as well. So with the next piece.
If it was my anger that I had built up inside, if it was school or the fact that, financially we didn't have much, I use that as a positive. My mom's from Mexico City. She crossed the border in probably not the most legal way. She came to America to live the American dream.
Como toda mamá, queremos llegar a este país para nuestros hijos.
We lived in pretty tough circumstances. And our rundown, it was literally a crack house and moving every 2 to 3 months. Sometimes the rent would go up, we'd have to leave. Sometimes we'd just have to leave just because we had to. Life is fair and sometimes it isn't. So.
El primer trabajo que tuve cuando llegué a Estados Unidos fue en la costura, de ahí a limpieza, pero el más fuerte fue carpintería y construcción.
She had the attitude of no excuse. You're talking about a lady who would miss work, drive 14 hours to go see her son wrestle. That's the type of mother that I have.
Yo le decía, mírame cómo estoy yo para que ustedes no se vean así. Ustedes se van en diferente posición.
She would tell us that we can become the president of the United States or an Olympic champion. Through my eyes, I actually visually see my mother work. If I put the same amount of work that my mother did in her job to support us, and if I do it in wrestling, I could become the best in the world. My mom couldn't attend the 2000 Olympics due to her citizenship status.
Esa noche no pude dormir porque iba a salir en la madrugada.
So here I am, her kid, who she raised for 21 years of her life. I was about to accomplish my dream, and the number one person in my life wasn't there.
Estaba oyendo yo mucho que hablaban Henry, Henry, Henry. Dije, ay, Dios mío, ya mi muchachito está ahí, yo sé que tú estás ahí.
The American flag to me was a way to represent unity. It's every culture in this world mixed into one. It's not just the stars and stripes, but one world.
Y me habló y me dice, mamá, gané. Le digo, sí, mijo, qué bueno, sí te miré. Mamá, no llores. No, mijo, no estoy llorando. Pero sí estaba.
She did tell me something I'll never forget. She said, this gold medal can make you, this gold medal can break you. You decide what to do with it.
Yo lo miro como un ejemplo para los demás niños que empiezan su deporte, que motive a los niños por buen camino.
Through the adversity that our family's been through, the blood, the sweat that I put in each and every day, I told myself that it's gonna make sense. It's gonna have to make sense. And as of June 24th, I believe, she got her citizenship last summer. She became a U.S. citizen. She loves this country. She loves it as much as I do. This is who I am. I'm American.
P&G, proud sponsor of moms.
All right. So, anyway, so quickly, and I'll wrap up here shortly with one more piece. But so this represented again, for me, obviously the culmination of both those worlds. The DIY culture. This was shot on the 5D. Everybody was so impressed that it looks so cinematic and beautiful. Of course, it's tough to see on these monitors here, but it looks really great. And and also, that was the branded content space that was made on a very minimal budget. Fortunately for me, this was the first official job I was paid for, was to direct this Procter & Gamble's a series for, I was one of 4 directors to do what ended up being about 21 episodes or 21 of these pieces. So that for me was really a tipping point. And what I find interesting is that this branded content space continues to flourish. And so for me, it's really exciting to see, because while you might spend millions and millions and millions of dollars on a Super Bowl ad for placement, and you get 120 million views in one instance over how many countries. Yeah, companies are in fact are paying attention to the fact that these other branded content pieces that might get 1 million, 2 million, 5 million views is something to pay attention to, especially if you think about that's more people than watching a Real Housewives rerun or whatever it might be. So it is something to consider. So this last piece is something that I was supposed to be at the Creative Week about 2 months ago, and I had to reschedule and be here today because I was actually just going off to shoot this one piece. And this did go viral. It hit about 4.3 million views, which is really exciting. It was a more substantial budget than the P&G stuff that you saw. And for me, it really goes to show just kind of what I see to be the future of where I'm looking to go and everything else. So, and also kind of where we see trends going with the commercial world. So I'm going to leave you on this last piece. It is a Walmart piece. If it makes you rethink Walmart, then I did my job. But we'll see. All right.
When I was born, the doctor said I had a condition that affected every part of me, from my body to my brain. When you're like me, people don't always give you a chance. They put you in a different school. They put you on a different team. And they taught you in a different way. But I never wanted to be treated any different. My parents and my family, they always knew what I was capable of. I wanted to be independent, so I learned how to drive. I love sports, so I took part in any way I could. And my condition became so bad, I lost feeling in my legs. So I learned to walk again. And when I wanted to work, I got a job. It's a struggle every day, but I still get up, because work makes me feel like I'm reaching my goals. And I get to give back to those who helped me along the way. My whole life, people have been telling me that I have a learning disability. I guess they're right, because I never learned how to give up.
Walmart. Thanks again, guys.